Hi, my name is Garrett, and this is the very first episode of my Devlog series. I've wanted to make video games for as long as I can remember, and I think it's finally time that I start doing that. A little bit of a background on me first. I've wanted to make video games pretty much since I started playing them when I was like 5. I just always knew that that's what I wanted to do, so this is my attempt to make that dream of mine happen. I've dabbled in making video games before, but I've never actually saw a whole project through or had anything that really came close to a playable game yet. I've spent a lot of time working on the skills that are necessary to make video games. I've definitely got a long way to go, so with everything that's going on in the world right now, I figured it's time to finally make this happen. This has been the finish line that I've set for myself so many years ago, and I finally just need to take the plunge. And like I said, I have tried to make some games in the past to varying levels of success, and by success I don't mean how well the game did, I mean how far in the process I got with the game. But I've never seen anything through to the finish line, and it's usually because I get bogged down in sort of the perfect vision of the game. I know how I want it to come out, and I know that my skills are just not able to take me to that point. I get sort of down on myself and the skills and stuff like that, and I end up quitting and moving on to something else, usually starting up another project or something like that. But recently, I have been enjoying a video series on the Escapist YouTube channel. I will put a link in the description so you guys can go check it out if you haven't seen it. One of the guys over there did a year-long video series on developing a game every month. And I think early on in the series, he voiced his experience with games, and I think it was something similar, that he got kind of bogged down in the process somewhere and never saw anything through to the finish. So he set out to make 12 games in 12 months. Now, obviously, they're not like giant AAA games, but they're things that helped him progress in his experience, and I think that's honestly what I need as well. I just need some experience making games, and I hope to release them at the end of the month so you guys can play them and experiment with them and give me your feedback. But I can't get too bogged down in the quality of the artwork and stuff like that, because I just need to get it out, and I think that will benefit me in a lot of different areas. So that long intro aside, May 1st marks the start of my year-long challenge to make 12 games in 12 months. So I've already started. I'm a week in. It is May 7th. Well, technically May 8th because it is past midnight, but I've spent the first 7 days of this month working on a game. So the premise for this game is going to be really simple. It's about summoners, and there's going to be an enemy side of the field over here, and then a player side of the field over here. So the player will be positioned here, the enemy will be positioned here, and then both sides will summon creatures that will travel across and try to attack each other. There's been a few games very similar to this that have come out on mobile, like South Park Phone Destroyer was a big inspiration for this. I really enjoyed that game, and I think it fits the premise of this really well. So they basically just have little cards down here that come out of your deck, and you can choose these before you go in. You've got an energy, and then you can basically just grab one of these when you have enough energy, place it on the field, and it will go do its job. And the win scenario is if you can get to the opponent and drain their life points to 0. And then inversely, you lose if the same happens to you. Now, these monsters do move around the battlefield, but they move on their own. So it's not something that you actively control, but you do control the placement of where you summon the creatures, and then they mostly move in a straight line across the battlefield, unless they get within range of an opponent monster or the opponent itself. And I think that this process is simple enough that I can really jump in, get my feet wet, and I'll get some good experience with sort of setting up this whole thing and learning how Unity works from a programming standpoint. Then I'll get some 3D modeling done and some basic animations and kind of learn how those animations interact with the scripts and stuff like that. And I guess that brings up another point that I forgot to mention. I will be using Unity to create this game. I have a little bit of experience with Unity, not a ton, but I generally know how things kind of work together in there. And I have quite a bit of C# experience. So this will be a really good experience, and I'm at least confident that I can get something working. I don't know that it will be the highest quality, but once again, that's kind of the point of this whole exercise. And another sort of stipulation that I'm setting for myself on this first month's game is to get better at Blender. So I'm forcing myself to create the models in Blender alone, rather than create them in ZBrush and then retopologize like I'm used to doing, because I want to get better at box modeling, and this is a good way to do that, I think. My goal for the first week of development was just to get all the pieces in place and get the main portion of the game playable. So as you can see, this is a very, very simple setup. I've just basically got a ground and then a little battlefield for the people to sit on, and then these are the indicators for the player and the opponent. I'm just using a sphere to represent them. They're actually a box just because I don't want the things to get too close to them. So that's the way we'll set up. In the final game, I'll replace these spheres with an actual summoner model that's animated and doing stuff. I set up some boundaries on either side just in case the monsters for some reason get clear to the other side and don't recognize a target. I also set up these little test monsters here. I do actually have a model for these, but I started out with these capsules, colliders, just to sort of get their movement in there and you know, get some health bars and just get them moving around the way that I want them to. I did also set up a very basic version of the UI. Like I said, I was just trying to get all the elements here. We've got the player energy down here in the bottom left corner, and then the player and enemy health up top, and then I just grabbed some magic cards online to be a card placeholder. So obviously those won't be in the final game. And I'm actually trying to decide if I would rather have a card or if I would rather just do a circle that you can kind of click on that has an icon of the monster on it. I'm sort of leaning towards circle, which is why I haven't really replaced these with anything. But for right now, it works. So like I said, I've got all of the basics there, and if I go ahead and hit play, you can see that the game is functional, the energies work, all of the UI does actually do something. And I've got these little particles. They're just super simple to let you know where the cursor is, so you can click and drag these out once you have enough energy to summon one of these creatures. They currently cost 3, and they all count as 1. But as you can see, I just use capsule colliders, and they're moving around. They're finding targets, and if I like put one down here, oh, they're going to meet up down there now. But as you can see, one of theirs got over to me and is actually doing damage up here. So it is at least somewhat functional. So having all those pieces in place, I decided to create just a super basic 3D model that I can use as a test for this. So this is the only creature I have in there right now. I called it the Ravager, and as you can see, it's low poly. It looks pretty stupid, but I did actually work on a script that the white parts of this I'm actually treating as glow, and those are in the texture that I created in Blender, so I just texture painted those on. They're not even very clean, but I knew they didn't need to be because 1, you're going to be far away from this, so you can't even really tell, and 2, I was going to make them emit some light. So I wrote this shader using shader graph that basically takes the texture in, it strips out the white part and the non-white part, and then it colors the white part with whatever color I give it, so I can use this same monster for both teams and just have them change the color. And then it also makes it an HDR color, so it can have some emission and have a little glow effect. Then it mixes it back together with the non-white colors and poops it out to the material. So that's why you can see this has a little bit of a glow on it, and you'll see when I play in a second, there are full animations there that actually have animation events and stuff like that. And the player should have a blue color, and the enemy's monster should have a red color. So this is what I've got so far. So like I said, I just worked on a little basic creature here And I have like a super basic enemy AI going on that basically once they have enough energy, they'll pop out another creature. And like I said, I only have the one creature, so they just pick a random spot on this mat and pop it out. So they're not, there's not any like logic on how the or where the enemy places it. It's just random. But at least I can see that it's playable. They attack each other. It does damage on the attack frames, and then when something's done, they move on to the next target. And I'm getting hit right here, so not doing so hot this round. But I think this was just what I needed for a proof of concept that this actually does work. And now I think the next step for next week is to go on and create some different monsters, so I can get a little bit of a variety in here and test out some more balanced type stuff and make it a little more like a game. There's still quite a few issues I need to work out. Like, I think I'll eventually have to do some sort of pathfinding, because if you get too many of the creatures in one spot, they will pile up on each other and not be able to get to the attack post, so they just kind of infinitely run in place, like you can see is happening a little bit over here. This one right here, he's just running in place because he can't get to the target. So I think I need to do some pathfinding so they can navigate around some of the other creatures and the players themselves. But that's more advanced stuff that I think will come a bit later. And I think eventually I would like to do some sort of overdrive system where the characters or the monsters out there will have a power that they can activate after a bit. But we'll see how that goes. So, like I said, next step is to get a few more creatures in there and start messing with the balance. And as you can see, I'm about to lose here, but I don't have anything happen where it actually lose. It just keeps going. Then I'm going to do some decorating around here and making it look a little bit nicer, and just sort of work on the overall feel of the game, and making it look a lot nicer, and yeah, just making sure that it feels good to play. I'm trying to keep my expectations in check for those, just so I don't get too crazy ambitious with it, but I think it's doable, and I hope to have something that's mildly fun and playable by the end of this, with several different creatures that you can kind of throw out and develop a strategy around. Well, I think that's pretty much it. I'm pretty sure this video has gone for way longer than I wanted it to, but I tend to ramble, especially about games, things that I'm passionate about, so I apologize. But I want you guys to leave me a comment just letting me know what you think of all this, what you think of the game so far, any features that you think would be cool for this type of game. I know at this early stage it's kind of hard to see what exactly I'm going for, but I think the next video will... The picture will become a little more clear. And at some point during this, I might do some live streams working on the game and some models that might go in the game. So let me know if you guys would be interested in something like that. And then that's pretty much it. So thank you for watching.